Good afternoon, everyone, and bienvenidos a todos, and a warm welcome to everyone. I am Beth Maranzini, and I am the Madam Chair of the Prospanica National Latina Track, and I'm really, really excited to be uh, facilitating this webinar during Hispanic Heritage Month. This webinar is extremely, I guess, special to us because it's going to showcase our culture for Hispanic heritage, and we're going to dive into our roots, our rhyme, and a journey honoring Latina cultural heritage in the workplace. And we want to thank our partner, Zeta, who is sponsoring this webinar for you today. So thank you, Zeta. And with that, I want to give a huge, huge thank you to one of our ally and advocates for Latina, our Zeta partner, Victor Sanchez. Welcome, Victor.
Thank you. I'm Victor Sanchez, and I work at Zeta. Zeta is an AR marketing cloud whose focus is to acquire, grow, and retain customers for our clients. You can learn more about our story at zetaglobal.com/about/our story. One of the exciting things about Zeta is their commitment to people and culture. As part of that, I am a co-chair for Zeta Mundo along with my partners, Raul Campos and Felipe Soto. We started our ERG a few years ago. Our focus was growing internally, and we found a cadence of events that worked for us, including Hispanic Heritage Month, where we celebrate events on a weekly basis, such as employee featurettes, a cooking show, discussion panels, and a game night, to name a few. You can see some of the fun we've had in the picture on the right. Once we established our ERG internally, we turned our focus outside of Zeta. So we started seeking out a partner. And after deliberating, we chose Prospanica for three main reasons. One, they're a nonprofit. Two, anyone can be a member from a college student to CEO, and their ability to help Zeta grow our Latina membership via recruiting. Once we became partners, Prospanica asked how Zeta wanted to help. We were presented with the Latina Track, and we could not think of a better way to advocate for our Latina members at Zeta. So far, it has been a great partnership. I've attended some of the Latina Track events and learned so much already. I'm excited to continue to inspire, motivate our Zeta Mundo members. With that, I'd like to introduce you to our Zeta Mundo team. Once again, thank you all. And once again, Beth, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Victor. And hi to our Zeta familia, who we see there. Hey, guys! We want to say thank you for participating and being here today. Well, as I mentioned, this webinar is extremely special to us because it was carefully organized by no other. And I want to give a shout out to the Latina Track committees, to my committee members. I know you're there. Thank you so much for investing your time to put together this lineup of engaging leaders. We have a researcher, we have a coach, and we're going to be discussing, an interesting topic to help all of you, all our Latina professionals navigate the workplace challenges. With that, I would like to introduce our speakers, and we have a great lineup, as I mentioned. First and foremost, I would like to welcome Maria del Pilar Casal. Hey. We want to say hello to Ivy Suarez. Hi, Ivy. Where are you? There you are. And my dear friend, Nelly Vasquez Roland. Hi, ladies, and welcome. I want to allow each one of you in that order to introduce yourself briefly so that our attendees and people watching us get to know who you are and the importance of why we wanted you to be here to discuss this topic. So Maria, Del Pilar, we'll start with you. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
I'm known for kind of yelling at the laptop, so let me know if I get too loud. But thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to be here with you all. I am Maria del Pilar Casal, or Maria de Pilar for short. I'm vice president at Televisa Univision, which is the combined now merged company of Televisa in Mexico and Univision in the United States. My work really focuses on creating social, streaming, and influencer campaigns for our advertising partners. So when brands like Verizon or Toyota or L'Oreal want to do marketing with the Hispanic consumer, they come to Televisa Univision and they work with myself and my team to create really exciting campaigns that engage that consumer with their products. And so I really enjoy what I do, and I'm so excited to share more about it today with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria del Pilar. And next, I would like to introduce Ivy Suarez.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So thank you for having me, Prospanica. I'm really excited to be here today. I do believe this is a very important topic to discuss. So my name is Ivy Suarez. I am a first-generation professional. I have spent about 12 years in corporate HR, and in 2021, I founded an organization called WorkWise, and my passion is to help first-generation professionals excel and find success in their careers.
Awesome. And last but not least, my dear friend, Nelly Rowland. Nelly, please introduce yourself.
Okay, hi everyone. Hello, Beth. Hello, everyone in SETA. And thank you for Prospanica for having me here today. And I guess a little background on myself. I'm what they call these days a multi-hyphenate, right? So I do a lot of different things and I love every single thing I do, which includes having a background in finance has really helped me open doors in many different types of careers, including building a social entrepreneurial portfolio of businesses that have helped empower and employ people with barriers to employment. I am a real estate developer. I acquire, I develop, manage property, multifamily housing, and also I consider myself a philanthropist. So one of my favorite things in the world is really to make sure that, I leave my granito de arena to help people in this world. And I'm just blessed, to have started recently a consulting firm called Goals to do exactly that. So I've been doing some consulting work, to help other entrepreneurs and also, believe it or not, people in the entertainment field, achieve their dreams. So that's what I'm up to lately, and can't wait to have this conversation with all of you today.
Well, thank you, each and every one of you, for this wonderful introduction. And now let's dive right into learning your journeys and Q&A. So with that, my first question, and any one of you can jump in, is how has your Hispanic heritage influenced your career choices and professional path? I guess I'll start with Nelly since you were the last one. Nelly, go ahead.
I don't know if it had an impact on my choices because it wasn't something that I considered, because when I started out my career, not to date myself too much, but there really weren't a lot of Latinas in finance. And that's really where my career started out. In fact, I was the only one that I knew of, here in the Chicagoland area. And so starting out there, there's an old saying that people tell you, right? Because I really had none of the background, none of the networks, nothing that really opened doors for people like me in this industry. In fact, it was the opposite, right? So I started out really trying to do what everyone said. And that is, when you're young and you're going into a field and you're, don't have a lot of experience, they say, fake it till you make it, right? And I found that didn't work for me because everyone in my offices, all the competition was kind of doing the same thing. And believe it or not, it wasn't until that I became, I embraced who I was. It wasn't until I became authentic and owning who I was that I actually saw success. Once I made that decision to do that, believe it or not, going back in the day, I was one of the first people to identify the investment opportunities in Latin America. So because my name was Nelly Vasquez, And all of a sudden, I had instant credibility and instant opportunity to connect with people in Latin America and invite investors to participate in a market that nobody else was thinking about at the time. Now, I'll just mention the fact that it was before NAFTA. So I look like a genius, by doing that. And I believe that, again, I tried everything. I really would cry on my way to work every day because what everyone else was doing wasn't working for me. And it wasn't until I decided that I needed to own who I am and embrace it and use it in a way that nobody else could, that I started to see success and achievement.
Very nice, very nice. I think we all have a similar experience when we first come into the US. We are told to embrace the culture, keep your distance, right? Sort of personal space and all the other stuff. But then later on in our career, we realize that our Latinidad is a power that can help us. So with that, Evie, I'd like to ask the same question. If you would like to just give your opinion in reference to what influenced your career choices.
Absolutely. So growing up in an immigrant household and being the daughter in the immigrant household usually comes with a lot of responsibility. A lot of that responsibility was translating legal documents at the age of 9, which is very overwhelming for a 9-year-old to have to translate a lot of the legal terms and legal jargon that is in those documents. Little did I know that those things were going to help me in my career. The first job that I had was in a really large manufacturing plant that had a really large Hispanic population. And I was able to be one of those individuals to help translate a lot of the information from a human resource standpoint from Spanish to English. I actually felt empowered because I felt like the value that I brought to the table was very important in the site. And I was very lucky to work with amazing mentors who really understood my value. They helped elevate me and they helped push me to different places in the field. So I'm really grateful that I had that experience growing up. I wasn't grateful when I was 9 years old, but later on in my career, it was definitely something that I valued. And I felt very empowered to be able to help people in my community with some of the difficult challenges. HR, you're discussing benefits, you're discussing payroll, things that are part of somebody's livelihood. And I felt very happy to be able to be that bridge for those individuals in that facility.
Wow, I think a lot of the Latinas and Latinos who are listening to this conversation, first generation, with potentially parents that, did not speak the language, were forced to become adults and do what you just explained. So it's going to resonate with a lot of them. So thank you for sharing that, experience. With that, Maria del Pilar, what about you? What really influenced your professional path, which is really interesting, by the way?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think what Evie shared was just phenomenal and wildly impressive. So kudos to her both at 9 and as an adult for having such an amazing perspective on that experience. I would agree with Nelly. I don't think when I sought out what career I wanted to have, it had much to do with my cultural backgrounds. I wanted to be in public relations and in communications. I liked a lot kind of things around law and around convincing people in their opinions. And I love that with public relations, you could take kind of all the information in the world and craft a story and persuade people. When I was studying that, a small thing called Facebook had opened up beyond college accounts to public people where anyone could have an account on Facebook, and social media was starting to take off. And just out of a natural, just like desire to participate, I started a blog and I started working with social media. And so I became interested in that, but there was really nothing existed around social. Now, the part where the culture and the heritage come in is that there was this opportunity at then known as just Univision to be the social media person behind the accounts, like literally at Univision, if you would be on Twitter or, / Univision. So if you were ever 8 years ago tweeting with Univision, you were probably talking to me. But my understanding of the audience, my knowledge of the content, and in that specific role, my ability to read and write and speak in Spanish, particularly the writing part, is what opened the opportunity for me to have this role. Again, something that wasn't established and that I didn't have a ton of experience in. So that cultural piece, I think, opens a lot of doors that, together with what experience I did have, made me kind of like a standout candidate and got me a job in a way that I think in other fields I wouldn't have had as much of that kind of leg up. So I'm obviously very grateful for having had that background.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And that proves that sometimes you really have to jump into opportunities as they come to be able to catch the wave. And it is apparent that you did that, right? With just kind of jumping into doing the Twitter and all that with Facebook. So
Yeah, tell you a little quick anecdote just for folks. So I had to write in Spanish, right? And I was had taken a lot of coursework and I was writing, but I used to have at my desk like this little post-it with all the rules of like, if it's M and N, then it's a B, not a V, and like what words would take accents. So I always tell people, even if you don't know something 100%, you just say yes to every opportunity and you figure out the rest, because I would literally speed dial call my mom and say, how do you spell this word? Is this the correct spelling? Very quickly if I needed it. So don't be afraid of opportunities, just go for it.
absolutely, great advice, great advice. Unless anyone else would like to add to that question, I would like to move us forward to the second question, which is one that is going to, again, as we move in and deep dive, like resonate even further with everyone, which is, I mean, who has not experienced a pivotal moment in their careers where they have to overcome a significant obstacle? So I like for everyone to be transparent and just share that, because sometimes when you see successful people, you see the end, right? When they're on top of the ladder and you're like, oh, they're successful. But nobody really speaks about, or a lot, about the challenges and the obstacles that they face to get there. So that's kind of what I wanted to ask you guys. Can you remember that pivotal moment in your career where you're like, wow, this is, God, I don't know if I can, stay here or continue, or I don't even know what to do. And what do you do? So I'm going to start with Evie. Evie, can you mention in a specific, experience for you?
Absolutely. So of course, in my career, I've had many pivotal moments. And I would say the farthest one that I can remember was very early in my career. Growing up in a Hispanic household, you learn how to build community. You understand how to value your community. And because of that, one of the first workplaces where I started my career, I had a lot of loyalty towards that organization because they had promoted me, they had helped me grow, they had supported my career, and I felt very safe. I felt very comfortable. And I felt like they were really guiding me. But it got to the point where I couldn't grow in my career staying at that place. And I was terrified of leaving. I was terrified even of the thought of leaving. And it was in that moment that one of my dear friends, one of my mentors, one of my favorite people in the world pushed me forward. She also worked at the organization, but she understood that if I needed to grow, that I needed to get out of the organization. And it was then that I realized the importance of having mentors, especially at a young age. Having people that you can trust, also people that maybe had a similar path towards you as you. She's also a Latina, so she understood some of the challenges that I would endure in my career. So being able to, look at wise counsel and understand that people have your best interest at heart, and understand that sometimes we need to make a change. And when we are scared of making a change, we need to turn to those people that we can trust so that they can push us to do the things that we will need to do. And the beautiful thing is I was able to leave. I was able to grow my career, develop my career. And 5 years later, I was able to come back to the same organization in another position, in a managerial kind of position where I was able to continue having that loyalty towards that organization. So we need to make those difficult changes, and that sometimes we just need to trust our wisdom circle, that they will be the people that will guide us to where we need to go.
Oh, I really, Evie, love that. Based on my own experience, where I spent 26 years in a company where they paid for my English as second language, my undergrad, my graduate, and I knew everybody. I was literally the last year traveling on the company's jet. I knew senior leadership. Sometimes you feel comfortable, but I think we have you heard the term leap of faith? That's what happens. You really need to take that leap of faith, and you will recognize it when you take it to be able to grow professionally and to be able to get to where you need to go in your career progression. So great advice. With that, Nelly, please. I mean, Nelly, I don't know. You have so many pivotal changes and obstacles and so many things that you've done. I'm just going to keep quiet and let you speak to it because it's going to be like, wow. And you're a mute, Nelly. I don't know if you're a mute.
Yeah. Okay. Based on the very limited amount of time we have here, I was trying to think, which story would be the most impactful to tell everyone. And I think what you just said, Beth, is exactly right. Is having taken a leap of faith, right? So I personally believe that in my life, I've always tried to stay very aligned, right? I mean, when you know who you are, when you know what your values are, then you can't not do what you're trying to do, right? It's like nothing can stop you because everything else doesn't fit, doesn't work, right? So when I talk about alignment, I really am very conscientious about everything in my life. I think about the nutrition, like what am I doing? Am I eating right? Am I sleeping? Am I fitness? The environment, who is around me? I need positive energy around me. I feed off of it, and I hope that people feed off of my positive energy. And ultimately, knowing my purpose in life, which for me, it's really faith-based, right? So a pivotal moment, I told you about the investment and how I was like literally ready to quit when I figured out that I just need to own who I am and how do I make it work for me. And, things just kind of fell into place in terms of finding my niche. But then another pivotal moment happened when I started just thinking about how blessed I was and how grateful that, I grew up in an at-risk community. I'm first generation American, and we had no mentors at the time that, I needed to really give back because of the blessings, right? And I've always learned that. And I was finally in a position in my husband's position to give back. So we decided that we wanted to help the homeless. We wanted to help people with drug and alcohol problems. How do you do that? When we exhausted our search and we said, you know what, no one's really doing it in a way that aligns with our values. No one's thinking about these people beyond feeding them, beyond giving them a place to sleep at night. But we know that there's God-given potential in these people, and we're just not developing it for them or helping them in any way to make that happen. So I literally built, 30 years ago, started building an organization that has since helped over 140,000 people get their lives back on track. That never would have started. I never would have taken the leap of faith from what was a very lucrative, type of career to be involved in. And I did it for 13 years, against all odds. I was really successful. But for me, what called me was now, how do I take everything that I know about business and how do I take everything I know about what we need to be doing on behalf of people that are the least among us and apply it to something and make it work? And really, my moral compass was my kids, because I wanted to be an example to them. And that ended up leading to us, building an organization that has won over 60 awards locally, nationally, and internationally. And I just feel like, again, just being aligned and being open to what, resonates with you. Well, I mean, nobody had done this before. There was no model to follow, but somehow we all know inherently what feels right. And when it feels right, do it.
That's awesome. And I don't know if based on what you share, people have sort of a true idea of the impact that you have had to humanity, especially in the Chicago area. I mean, Nelly was invited by President Obama, I believe, to the White House. I believe even President Trump brought you in. She created this model that supports the homeless, not just getting them off the street, but getting them to, have a place to live, which is the real estate part of her journey. Also, get back to work and then get Medicaid to pay for, their care if they were addicts or why not. And that was a pivotal moment for Medicaid and providing help for the homeless guys. This is a woman that made that happen. Just to end there,
we passed a law. We passed a law to have health insurance cover the services. Yeah.
For them, and guess what? You know what? I met Nellie and I connected with one of the highest senior leaders in my company that I work for, because that person worked with her to pass this law. So it's a small world, and that's why connections are, amazing and critical. And look where she's at right now. So guys, she is truly a game changer, and her impact will be have benefit for generations to come. So thank you, Nellie. Anybody else, Evie or Maria del Pilar, want to contribute to this pivotal overcoming significant obstacles?
So, I mean, I feel like in corporate America, you overcome obstacles like every day, right? 5 minutes before this webinar, I got an email, and that I feel like was an obstacle I had to overcome. But one of the things that I've learned, and I was reminded this when you was speaking, I've had a lot of moments where I've had to leave the role I'm in and take on another role, and how terrifying that can be. What I've learned, or I know that's terrifying because it's hard to leave a situation where you kind of know everything and know everyone. But what I've learned is that whenever I'm in a situation, in a room, in a role where I'm the most senior, it's probably time to move on, because the uncomfortable feeling of being the most junior in a situation is actually the most successful situation for you, because it means that there's still room to grow and that you're continuing to grow in that. So I had to come to peace with that, and it was kind of like one of my therapy journaling moments. But I had this aha moment of, I want to stay in this role because because I feel really comfortable, but that also means the most senior, which is not the room I want to be in. I want to be in the rooms where I'm the most junior and everyone else is senior and teaching me. So that's something that is hard for me to embrace, but that I've learned that kind of change. As I've had those pivotal moments of changing roles and going to new companies and new teams.
Thank you for sharing that. And it's so true. I feel that if you're in a position where you're just doing what people are expecting of you, you're just meeting expectations. If you go above and beyond and raise your hand and volunteer, those are the moments that have helped me get promoted in my career. When you go above and beyond, that's when you exceed expectations. So don't think for a minute that you doing your job really good is going to get you promoted, because you're just meeting expectations. With that, I just want to kind of pose another question. And this question is really tied to Hispanic Heritage Month. My question to you is, how has your Hispanic heritage been an asset in your career? And if you could add a little bit of a color and provide some examples on how it has influenced your work. I'm going to start with Evie.
So I feel that, similar to my other answers, growing up in a Hispanic household, you have to have problem solving skills and you need to have initiative. Especially when you are, the children of immigrants, you're trying to navigate a new country, you're trying to make sure you can be successful for your parents' sacrifice that they made coming into a new country. So those have been the skills that have been the most important in my career. Every job that I have been at, I have been the problem solver, the person that has initiative, and it has proven success everywhere. So I am extremely grateful to my Hispanic heritage, because, that's just part of who we are. We like to solve problems. We like to make sure that we get things going. We like to get things moving. We like to create community. I mean, my Hispanic heritage has definitely been paramount everywhere in my career, even though I haven't always worked with people that are similar, in background to me. I can definitely see where my upbringing makes me very, very just ahead of the game when it comes to just some of those skills like problem solving and initiative. And I'm very grateful for it.
Oh my God, so true, especially when you're leading with cross-functional team. Our positive demeanor, happiness, passion I think it's everybody moving and happy, especially in the mornings. So with that, I'd like to ask Nelly the same question. Can you please tell me, just to repeat the question, how has your Hispanic heritage been an asset to you in your career? And can you give us an example?
Yeah, well, I honestly attribute everything I've ever accomplished to my heritage, and to my family story. And Evie just alluded to the fact that, the sacrifice, right? I mean, I got to see firsthand, what my family, what my father, what my mother were willing to do to give us access to opportunities that they never would have had. So, for example, my father came to the US by himself. And yeah, he went back and forth. But my mom and dad were separated for 5 years. So my dad started out as an orange picker, a steel worker, a carpenter. He started his own construction company. And he built up a nice enough nest egg and was able to buy a home. So by the time my mom and my older siblings, because I was born in the U.S., came to America, they actually had a place to land. And my father did it with his brother-in-laws, and his brothers, and they all did it together and they stuck together and they all did the same thing. So I grew up in a neighborhood where all the neighborhood was my family, so I feel like so blessed, and they never forgot where they came from. Our house always had people living in our home that were friends and family coming, also trying to make the same trek. My family, my father opening doors, giving the people access to job opportunities and helping them find their and get their own homes. And he provided if they didn't have it. So I feel like everything I've done has really been an extension of something that they started a long time ago. And I just was in a position to scale it. And so again, I wouldn't be who I was without my father making those sacrifices and my mother praying and taking care of the family and keeping us all close and really giving us the example of, of just what families do for each other. And that is always caring and looking out for each other. And that is what we still do to this day. So, and friends, are part of our family too. It was never a time when people came over to our house that there wasn't enough food, for whoever walked in the door. So I just think their generosity and their love and, their compassion for others and willingness to, make a difference with the little that they had for others, again, really is my, what I want to pay homage to and everything that I do.
Oh, that's awesome. That's wonderful. I would like to see Maria del Pilar. Do you have anything to add in reference to your Hispanic heritage and how that has helped you in your journey and your career?
Yeah, I think it's helped me and also kind of taught me a lot. So similar, I think, to what the other two panelists shared is like the way I show up to work and the way I show up to what I do is with a certain just level of positivity and joy. I think just inspired by, like the other panelists, my parents, just phenomenal, like bravery and intelligence and strategic minds and everything that they did, both coming here and starting new lives and just working really hard and building a beautiful life for themselves. So I think that's always given me just kind of like, they've done this amazing thing. The least I can do is kind of show up to work really happily. It's also taught me though that as Evie mentioned, like I think because of our like Latinidad, we're very rooted in community. But I think we have to sometimes remember that in corporate and in the workplace, not everyone comes from that same space and not everyone is approaching work or how they engage with others in that same way. And that's okay. We're all very different, but I did learn kind of quickly that while I came from that space and with that mentality, I had to be mindful of who I wanted to build community with and maybe focus my energy and enthusiasm and happiness in the areas where it would be appreciated, but also supported. In any areas where it was not, it was okay to kind of walk away from, right? And not get into that comparison of, I show up in this way, should I temper down? Should I get a little more cutthroat? It's just, that's not who I am. And those spaces where you need that to be successful are not places I want to be. So I think my culture has also helped me to find the places where I want to be. I'm obviously very lucky. I work at a company that has many Latinos that share many of the same values, but I think that's been one kind of key thing that I've learned, to just find the spaces that appreciate, who I am and what my culture is, and then the rest is just noise. and not for me.
Excellent. And I feel like, to that, have you heard the term is like, especially with our LGBTQ community, which are our brothers and sisters, they are told, hey, if you don't allow them to be who they are, you can't come in, like they'll show up as 50% of who they are. It's the same thing with us. I remember early part of my career where I was taming down my happiness and my positive energy and my attitude. I literally tame it down. I still do sometimes. And that hurts because you really, who you are and what you want to be, because, we are a culture of happy family. We're excited, we're grateful, we want to come in and work. And sometimes, we are faced with situations where you really have to tame down who you are, especially when you're sort of talking to senior leaders. So, it's kind of a balance, right? But with that, I truly appreciate your being candid about, show up your true self. It's important to the extent that you can. I like to kind of move us to another question, because I'm going to tell you this, everything so far that you guys have shared, and I just want to let everyone, the audience, know that when we met, we kind of started talking, and there was so many similarities in our experiences. It's starting with, and I'm just going to say one, with our name. Like, my name is not Beth. I shortened my name to Beth because it was hard for people to pronounce Betania. And then I got married, and then I stuck to Beth Marmolejos, who I don't even know who that person is since I got divorced. So it's like, and then I think it was Maria del Pilar that mentioned, yeah, I go with Maria sometimes because people, get confused with Maria del Pilar. So I share that. So a lot of us come in and we have to change even our names in the corporate world, because people do have trouble pronouncing them. And that's the one thing that we, I wouldn't say struggle, but we adapt, but it's hard, right? Because it feels like you're changing who you are completely. Let me move us to the last question here. I would like to ask each one of you, and I'll start with Evie here. How do you hope to impact the future generations of Latinas through your career? Just give us sort of, your sense as to how do you think you can impact our next generation and help.
Absolutely. So like I shared, my career was strongly influenced by one of my mentors when I was early on in my career. So I started a whole organization, Workwise Guide, and really my entire goal is to empower first generation professionals, many of which are Latina professionals who want to grow in the workplace. I think, we always need to turn towards wisdom. And I think we get that wisdom from people who have been through those steps already. I don't have all the answers, but I hope to be able to get the answers from my wisdom circle, from the people who have been through that journey already. Places like this where we can all share our voices and talk about our experiences, because I'm hoping that somebody in the room can say, wow, I really took something out of that. I feel like I can implement some of that in my own career. I can have the confidence to ask for a higher salary. I can have the confidence to correct somebody when they mispronounce my name, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, those are all things that we need to do. And I hope that with my organization, I can continue to do that for people in my community.
Excellent, excellent. All right, well, that's really good. Helping Latinas understand their value, which I'm going to be honest with you, our culture trains us to be humble. And in corporate, you cannot be humble. You really have to speak up and sell yourself and your values. So, if anything, it's the opposite, right? I'm going to ask Maria del Pilar to kind of give us, sort of what is her perspective as to, the impact that she wants to leave for future generations.
Yeah, I don't know what my impact will be, but what I try to kind of identify, or I've tried to in the past few years identify, is a few ways that I can kind of make the most immediate impact. The first is that whenever I'm in a position to do any hiring, I kind of try to bring more expansive view to it. So if I'm hiring for a team or for interns, I'll typically ask to see the resumes from the public colleges first. I went to City College. I think I turned out phenomenal. So I usually try to look at public and state school candidates first, and I think keep a very open mind. While there's a lot of resources, I think there are many people in our community who still, they don't have a mentor or a system by which they can learn, how to properly prepare for an interview, how to phrase things a certain way, how to send an email. So I think in the hiring practice, I also try to keep a very open mind and look for talent versus how someone presents themselves. Because I think that's a little bit also not really relevant to what someone can do in a work role, right? They can be excellent, but they might have just not phrased things a particular way that corporate tells us it should be done. So that's one thing that I try to do. The other is that I try to I do a lot a portion of my time for the other piece, which is the resume and interview coaching. So my DMs, I will offer my DMs on LinkedIn are open for students and early entry folks who are Latino, people of color. I'm happy to spend time and basically work through how to craft a resume, how to prep for an interview, and how to talk about yourself. Because there are so many talented people and they just are not in a situation where they have a professional that their parent hired to tell them exactly how to talk about themselves. And the last thing I would say too is just kind of creating the environment in the workplaces that I'm at that I want to be in and that I think are conducive to more diverse types of teams. So if you're on my team and if someone's watching this, you'll know I frequently talk about, how my therapy is going, what was a tough day at work, if I felt not seen or I felt spoken over, where I maybe could have been braver, things like that. And I think just keeping a very kind of open environment so that people coming from our community who have different backgrounds and different experiences feel comfortable showing up as themselves, because I definitely try to. So maybe if I show up a little bit open and wacky, then everybody can kind of be themselves. I think small, nothing as amazing as starting organizations, but hopefully little things that can help a few folks.
Little things that make a big difference, so it's all good. Nelly, how about you? We spoke a little bit about what you've done, so what else do you think you can contribute? I think that was major, what you've done. And you are on mute.
So I guess my advice is for entrepreneurs, right? So for people that, want to do something that maybe nobody else has done, and one of the things that's always giving me the courage is that I do my homework, right? So I do my research. I understand, and I love how Maria said she identified the trend of Facebook, right? So it's like identifying trends early on and try to figure out how you can be in that wave, right? Whether at the top, the beginning of it or in the middle of it, you don't want to be the end of it. You want to be, at the beginning of it if you can. And if there's a way that you can see, for example, I'll just go back to the example of helping the homeless, right? Back in 1994, I mean, I saw that the laws were changing in a way that was going to cause mass incarceration. I saw the way the money was flowing. I was trained to follow the money, right? So I understood if you're going to incentivize cities and states to build prisons and they're passing laws to fill those prisons, then the likelihood of people that don't have the money to go hire an attorney or go for treatment are likely going to be in prison. And I was personally very aware of it because we went through that in my family where someone had to go through treatment. So looking at sometimes during that time when we were going through that scenario of having to go through treatment, it was probably one of the worst things that could happen to someone in the world, but it ended up being a blessing in disguise later on. So I look at problems and I look at setbacks sometimes as lessons, right? Like, I wonder what that's a lesson for, because you never know when you're going to need that lesson to be able to either A, help the next guy, or in my case, build a whole model around addressing root causes and connecting the dots to treatment, employment, and permanent housing situations. So for me, it's always about, again, identifying trends, doing your homework, and positioning yourself to either be part of that, as a solution that people are going to need, as a result. And this is a great conversation to have right now because the world is changing so much. We've got an election, we've got AI, we've got all kinds of social issues. Another thing I just want to impress upon us Latinas, is that, there's a lot of talk around, and even back in the day, it's never, it didn't just start, but it's always happened. And that is, the idea of the fact that we are different, and therefore maybe not as good or whatever. I never listened to the idea of being a victim. I never, ever bought into that. I believe that God made us all different for a reason, and we all have gifts, and it's our job to find out what they are and to develop them, and then believe in them enough to invest in ourselves, to go to the next level. And so I just believe that, I don't believe in complaining. I don't believe in explaining. I don't believe in blaming. I don't believe in making excuses. I just look at every opportunity where you're inclined to do that, to internalize it and do it, a little, evaluation and say, okay, how can I take this and use it to my advantage? And that's worked for me throughout my life, throughout my careers. And I hope that, as there's so much noise going on in the world, that we consider, where we want to be with these trends and how we can take advantage of it. Because if nothing else, this is a great opportunity to be focused, because while everyone is distracted, and if you're focused on what you want to do and where you want to be and how you want to be, then guess what? The competition just kind of disappeared on, because all of a sudden there's very few people that are able to do that. And I just hope that, that we all kind of, again, during this Hispanic Heritage Month, look at the fact that we're the fastest growing population of entrepreneurs, Latinas, so it's in our DNA, and don't deny it, embrace it, and, run with it, because it is a gift that I'm really proud to have.
Excellent. Sorry, guys. I think you lost me there for a minute. There I am. Sorry, I got disconnected for a minute. I don't know why. We do have a couple of questions on the chat, and we want to be brief. So I'm just going to post the question and pick one of our speakers to help me answer that. The first one, and really briefly, is around how can Latina professionals better network and build connections in industry where they might be underrepresented? I will start by saying a good idea is to join the Latina Track. Help us get your companies to embrace Prospanica Latina Track as a sponsor, like Zeta has, to help us. And then I would like to ask Maria del Pilar to help us answer that. How can you expand on that question?
So you went away from me for the screen for about 30 seconds. Is it the one on work-life balance?
No, we want to ask how can
networking?
professionals better network and build connections in industry where they might be underrepresented, where I said, if you can help us connect your corporations or your companies to the Prospanica Latina Track and become, partners to us, that is a way of expanding. What can you say to that? How can you answer that question?
Thank you. I lost you there for a second, so I wasn't sure if you had moved on to the next one. Okay, so I want to be mindful of where I have experience. So I am in a field where there are many other Latinos, and so the networking has been easier. What I will say is I think if you are in a field where there's underrepresentation, I think it's helpful to find other Latinos or folks of color who are in the industry, because they tend to very much understand how difficult it can be. So finding a mentor is very, very helpful, right? Someone that you can connect with. I will tell you, so I spent a lot of time mentoring, and then realized that I was kind of spending no time actually developing myself. So I've asked myself this question of how I can better network. And what I tell you is I've just started to put myself out there, and I've gone on LinkedIn and seen what other professionals who I admire, what organizations they're a part of, and what are they going to. And that's actually how I found out about Prospanica, because someone I knew was posting about them on LinkedIn. So I've spent probably in the past like 3 months, I will dedicate a piece of time to just going through and seeing where everyone's connecting, and then doing Google searches, because honestly, I'm not the best at it at all. What I do think is you just have to put yourself out there and not be afraid to send someone a message and say, hey, I see you're part of this organization. I'd love to learn more. It's okay to go to things alone. A lot of people are going there alone. You can just introduce yourself. No one knows anyone. Everyone is nervous. Everyone is embarrassed to introduce themselves. It's totally fine. But yeah, I want to be mindful that I am in an area where there are tons of other Latinos, so it's been a little bit easier. I don't know if Nelly mentioned when she was in finance, maybe that was a little bit more underrepresented. She might have some good suggestions.
Thank you so much. I'm going to pivot to the next question, and this was from, thank you, Jasmine. I know you posted this question. How do you handle the work-life balance? And she says sometimes the culture in corporate is all about getting work done, and our Latino background is about balancing family time. These sometimes clash. How have you navigate that? So I am going to ask Nelly. Can you answer that? And then the next question then will be for Evie.
One of my people ask me that all the time because I'm always juggling so much. Like, how do you do it? You know, you've got two amazing sons and they seem to be doing well, and you've got these businesses and, you know, real estate. How do you do the work-life balance? You know, well, to me, it just boils down to time management, you know. So I put it on my calendar. I mean, I get up, I work out in the morning, you know, I used to make my kids sandwiches in the morning or breakfast in the morning, you know, to go to school, and they were in sports, and then it was in my calendar. So my calendar and my schedule evolved around my personal life, right? So if someone wanted to get together at a time my son had a baseball game or practice, sorry, I can't meet, you know. So going back to the, if you don't mind, the original question that you had asked Maria, you know, about the networking thing. You know, I used to spend a lot of time networking, and my husband and I were a tag team, you know, because, you know, I always wanted to be at every event. And, you know, today I do it more strategically by serving on boards, you know, and making sure that we're giving representation, you know, to our culture. I'm on the Illinois Chamber of Commerce board, which is made up of some of the largest businesses in Illinois, but I'm also on the Little Village team. It's called a foundation board, which is, you know, for small businesses in the community that I grew up in. And I'm really, really proud of the fact that one of our projects is we're building a small business incubator. And I can't wait, you know, for that incubator to open up. It literally is on the corner of where I grew up, and to go in there and to be hopefully, you know, someone that can contribute to the, you know, next generation of entrepreneurs. And again, giving them the hope and the confidence and the vision and the dreams that, you know, they too, you know, can accomplish, you know, whatever it is that's in their hearts to achieve. And I'm a big networker and a big connector. So it's always about making sure I'm introducing people. You know, it's like, oh, you do this, you do that. You two need to know each other, make it happen. You know, so for me, besides being personally like a little bit of a matchmaker with people, because I've got a few weddings to my credit, I try to do that for people in business as well, you know, because I think that, you know, none of us can do it on our own. And I just want to see people, you know, be fast tracked. Don't waste any time. This person knows everything you need to know. And, you know, this person can help you. And people hopefully, you know, I get it all the time. You know, when people meet me, they're like, oh my God, you're such a connector. I met this person through you. It's like, oh, good, it worked out. You know, so
Feel the
that
same
to me
way.
is another way. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Nelly. I feel the same way. It's a gift of connecting. Last question, real quick, in about 1 or 2 minutes. Evie, if you could help me answer this question from Randy. Many organizations are realizing that dedicating resources in attracting Latino talent is a strategic business decision. What trends have you seen in your industry that support this new business opportunity?
Absolutely. So this is definitely something that I saw across industries where I worked in from an HR standpoint. And working in HR, part of my goal was to definitely ensure we have diverse talent across our organization. I was very privileged to work in organizations that were extremely diverse. One of the organizations I worked for had 43 different birth countries represented. And that's amazing. It's amazing for many reasons, but usually organizations want to have diverse talent because the consumer base is diverse. So knowing that, you know, organizations are looking towards having more Latino talent, it means that they're realizing that their consumers are Latinos, which means that we have a lot more to add to the table, and not just as entry-level workers, but as leaders of these organizations. So I think it's important. A lot of organizations are going towards this track of hiring people that are diverse. And I think as Latinos, we need to realize that they're hiring us for a reason, and we need to work our way up through the ranks because, you know, the population needs us in those leadership positions to make those strategic decisions. Because if not, then the decisions won't be authentic.
Oh, what a great answer to that question. Thank you so much, Evie. I'm so glad that I asked that question to you because you had that experience. With that, we have come to an end. And coming to an end means thanking Evie, thanking Maria del Pilar, thanking my dear friend Nelly Vasquez Roland for, being part of this conversation, being transparent. A lot of good nuggets were shared, like trust yourself, leap of faith. We spoke about that. We spoke about, focusing your energy and in areas that you could be yourself. Knowing your passion. That's truly important. I want to just, once again say thank you to Prospanica National because they put together this event for us. So I really want to thank, our CEO, Tomas Sabino, Lorena, Esther, everyone who normally, help us and supports these webinars to support our mission to help Latinas, grow in their profession and also provide professional development opportunities for Latinas, which is our mission. Again, we wanted to say thank you to SEDA for being our sponsor on our Hispanic Heritage webinar. Yay! Thank you so much, Victor. Thank you for being such a good partner. And I also want to encourage you to join us. Please visit prospanica.org and become a member. You could be a professional member and you could see that is, for the whole year, like $120. Listen, it's nothing, like Nelly said, invest on yourself. Investing on yourself is the best investment you could possibly take with you. Nobody can take away what you learn. We also want to share with you our upcoming webinar, and that is on Thursday, October 3rd on professional branding. And we do have great speakers. This is our Latina Track webinar. Please join us. We have surprises for you there. If you also, next please. I wanted to also invite you to talking about networking. Everyone, do not miss. This was my first experience with Prospanica in 2011. And that is, you could join our national conference and career expo on October 29th to the 31st in Orlando, Florida. Do yourself a favor. Join and you will be exposed to other professionals, Fortune 500 companies, opportunities, networking, workshops, you name it. You are going to gain so much as I have. I owe a lot of my career, not only experiences, but also trajectory and being at the level that I am to Prospanica. I promise you that if you join the conference, you're going to see the benefit. In addition to that, we do have some pre-conference webinars that, the personal branding, which will help you, navigate the conference. And one of the most important topic that really, really we need more focus on, and that is on October 16, and that is the Latina Equal Pay Day, which you really need to listen to understand what we're saying. Not only women are paid less, but Latina are actually paid less than all the other minority groups. So join us to have that conversation. I know Elisa Charters, one of my good friends, is going to be speaking there. With that, I again want to thank everyone for joining today. I want to say thank you to our Prospanica National Support Team. Lorena, you are amazing. And my committee, the Latina Track Committee, Randy, Jackie, Lucy, Flericer, thank you. I appreciate you so much. Bye, everyone.